A whopping 13 million people played the original The Crew, and that is a game that, quite honestly, I didn't rate very highly. Thankfully though, Ivory Tower and Ubisoft experimented through the game's expansion packs, and with some bold new additions alongside those tweaks and changes, it's making The Crew 2 a much more interesting and better game all around. So here's 7 great things about The Crew 2 that it gets absolutely spot on. Number 1 is obviously being able to switch on the fly. The Crew 2's big new trick isn't that you've got planes, motorbikes and boats in the game as well as a ton of cars, it's that you can swap between them in an instant, switching from car to plane, plane to boat, boat to car to boat, and so on. No, you can't do that in the middle of a race unless said race is designed around that switch, but it really removes all of the limits that you might have had in exploring the game's rendition of the USA. Not only that, but as well as this quick switch system which will almost instantly swap to designated favourite vehicles, getting access to your entire garage of unlocked cars is only a few button presses away in the menu anyway. Number 2 is being able to zoom in on the map and rewind time. If you thought that switching on the fly between different modes of transport sounded familiar for a Ubisoft game, then the ability to view your path through the world and rewind time is going to give you a serious case of deja vu. Yep, it's straight out of the winter sports game Steep, and it works just as well here as it did there. It's great for when you're exploring the open world and taking on some of the high score challenges, like tackling a slalom in a speedboat, and the game's photo challenges also tap into this, where you might be hunting down some wildlife snaps and you can jog back and forth to get the perfect shot. Oh, and it's just damn cool being able to zoom right from the map of the entire USA all the way down to see the roads of Miami or the harbour of New York City. Number 3 are the 4 racing families. There's 4 different styles of racing in The Crew 2, and under their umbrellas they cover all kinds of racing. You've got street racing, which is all about sleeper cars that have been boosted over the top and anything else that you can race on the streets. Pro racing will then predominantly put you on a circuit, but will also include racing on the sea and racing through the sky, where you might think of the Red Bull Air races, for example. You've also got off-road racing that dumps you into the hills and sets a far-off objective for you to reach, while freestyle will have you getting your drifting skills up to snuff. But there's actually quite a lot of depth to each category, and certainly plenty of different and contrasting vehicles. Which brings us to number 4. Boats aren't just about speedboats in this game. The first thing that I thought when racing in a speedboat was, well, this is fine, I guess. It's pretty easy to just make a straight line to the next checkpoint, and you lift the front of your boat to cut through the waves and get a higher top speed. Great, but it's not that interesting. I'll tell you what is interesting though, and that's jet sprint boats. These are insane. They're fast, they're twitchy, they can skip across patches of land, and they make racing through the Bayou or through the canals in Las Vegas a lot of crazy fun. If that means having to go through some maybe not so interesting speedboat races, then I'm all up for that. Number 5 is doing all of this racing with your friends. Co-op was at the heart of the first game, and it is back for the second. If you've got a race that you want to tackle, you can just invite your friends to join you and race with and against them at the same time. Oh, and don't worry if they don't own the right kind of car, because you can always get a loaner vehicle at the expense of earning some post-race rewards. You still build your followers and earn some money, but you don't get the loot that helps to upgrade that particular car because, you don't own it. This is actually a really nice thing about the game, as your efforts are combined, and if even one of you beats the race objective, or the drifting score, or the time trial, or whatever, then it lets you all share the spoils and the progression. Number 6 is a pretty great photo mode. The photo mode in The Crew 2 is about as comprehensive as they come, letting you fiddle with not just the camera settings, but the world settings as well. Not only that, but as I mentioned before, it joins forces with the rewind function, so you can jog time backwards and find just the right split second of action that you want to capture. It's a seriously powerful tool, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what people are able to create using it. And finally, number 7 is basically the game's motto of letting you do what you want. If you're not a fan of drifting, don't worry, you don't really have to do anything in the game that you don't want to. If you completely want to ignore a family of racing, then you absolutely can, and it's okay, Ivory Tower won't hate you. Now admittedly, we haven't tested the absolute limits of this, so there might be times where you do have to do a bit of boat racing just because the game's just like, well, we'll give you a little taste of this and see what you think of it. But it won't really bar your progress in track racing because you haven't done any drifting over in a different family. And it's a nice liberating approach that Ivory Tower have to your progression in the game. And I've just got a secret number 8 to add at the end, and that is Inception. Thanks a lot for checking out this video. We've also got a more general preview of the first few hours of the game and a little bit of the later game stuff as well, which we got from Hands-On the other week. You can catch that here on YouTube or head over to the6thAxis.com for that. Please do like, subscribe and share before you go, and hopefully we will see you again soon. Goodbye!